Comanchero's boss Mark Buddle is tonight in custody following a top-secret mission to fly him from Turkey to Australia.
So the AFP alleges that Mark Buddle was involved in the importation of 160 kilograms of cocaine to Melbourne.
The chapter of Mark Buddle is not over. So the Supreme Commander of the Comanchero bikie gang, Mark Buddle, whose life and times have been followed by many people for nearly the last decade, has been brought back to Australia by Turkish authorities and handed straight to the federal police. It's quite a story that, as I said, we've been following for quite a while.
Yeah, indeed. So Mark Buddle really burst on the scene a bit over a decade ago in Sydney as a bikie with the Comanchero bikie gang. And his rise through the ranks was pretty quick, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And he, after Mick Howie, who was the leader, he was jailed after an airport brawl at Sydney Airport where a Hells Angel associate was killed. I mean, oddly enough, that led to the rise of Raptor.
Yeah.
And literally, for the last decade, you've had Raptor versus the bikies, and the most high-profile bikie is Mark Buddle.
Yeah.
And he has been, you know, unassailably the leader of that gang for quite a while. He left Australia in 2016. Raptor were hounding him.
Yeah.
So he took off and lived in a variety of countries with his partner Mel Tawisha. So in that time, he consolidated his rule over the club. You know, he's got a lot of very, very fiercely loyal followers who were doing a lot of work for him back here in Australia. Well, he lived in Dubai until he, I think, you know, got involved in an altercation there in Dubai, and it didn't look too good.
No, so that was in the middle of last year, in the middle of 2021. It's the first time for somebody who's so high profile, he lives a pretty low profile.
He had until then. He really had.
Yeah.
He left Australia.
Yeah. And
obviously to start a quieter life.
Yeah, and then that video popped up on Instagram. To know somebody flagged with you, and we ran the story of him getting in a fight with British tourists at a bar in Dubai, a poolside bar in Dubai, living the lavish life that he'd become accustomed to. But, you know, it was an altercation and potentially some threats, and somebody had filmed it, and it was up online before he knew about it, anybody knew about it. And we got it flagged with us back here, and it was the first time. And from there, it's really just been, in the last 12 months or so, a steady downfall, controversy after controversy. He went from Dubai to Turkey.
Where, you know, there's a lot of Comanchero in Turkey. They're mainly of Turkish nationality, so they're pretty protected there, whereas Mark Buddle wasn't. And his very good mate there was a guy called Oykan Keskin, who died. But Mark was he was on, you know, the guys there, the Comanchero, they were getting harassed themselves internally, so he actually left there and went to Lebanon, I believe.
He did, but that didn't last long either, really. No. So everywhere he goes, the pressure was building on him from Australian authorities and then local authorities. And because he's an Aussie boy, a Sydney, you know, suburban Sydney boy, he didn't quite have the protection that some of the locals did. And eventually he ended up in northern Cyprus, which is, it's a weird part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. You know,
it's
almost lawless in a way. It's caught between two nations. And they operate under a different set of rules. And he was there living a pretty nice lifestyle. From what I gather, but
beachside apartment. It's not bad. It's a really beautiful part of the world. And he was there, but Mel wasn't with him. She was in Turkey, and his family and his children were back in Dubai. So, you know, and that just again goes to the point that in the past 12 months, his world has slowly
got tougher and tougher
for
him to live. And the whole time we've got to stress, like, we call him Australia's most wanted man, but he was a fugitive without a warrant.
Exactly.
He left Australia on a legal passport. There are no charges here waiting for him.
A lot of rumours and a lot of talk about what he may allegedly have been involved in, but
there was no warrant, so police didn't have enough evidence to do that. Now, after he got caught in Cyprus and he was moved to Turkey, that's, when was that, July 7 or 8? And we got a phone call Saturday night saying Mark Buddle's been arrested in Cyprus.
And talk us through that night.
Well, that came as a Saturday night, get a phone call saying he's been arrested by the FBI. FBI guys have burst in. Now, that proved to be maybe incorrect, that they're under the misapprehension that it was the FBI, but in fact it was local Cypriots, had gone in through what was described as a major operation, going in through windows, heavily armed, dragged him out, and that's when he ended up in Turkey, and there for like a month or so. But there were stories coming out that he actually had married a woman in Cyprus, that he had split from Mel.
Yes.
She actually took to social media, I think, to say some of that.
Yeah, she had a chat to us.
It went from being quite an amazing story about he's been arrested to almost a soap opera.
Absolutely, yeah. So it turns out that he hadn't seen Mel for a year. She'd been in Turkey. He'd been in Cyprus with this new wife.
Yeah.
And then he gets taken from northern Cyprus to Ankara and he's held for a month. And there's a lot of talk.
Yeah. That there was no red notice. There was
there
no
wasn't.
warrant out. As I said, fugitive without a warrant.
Exactly.
And I think many of us, and me included, thought Mark Buddle would eventually leave Turkey. He would be deported because he was being held there mainly on visa violation and immigration problems. They were having a big purge of non-Turkish nationals who they considered perhaps to be undesirable, and that's how he was classed.
Yeah.
I thought he would have ended up in another country. I think reports he was going to buy a ticket and said, look, I'll buy my ticket to Jordan.
Yeah.
No need to deport me.
Yep.
So and that happens in a lot of places. If you're deported, you say, I'll leave the country. So that was the state of play, and that's what we thought until last Tuesday night.
But you sent me a text.
Yeah.
You sent me a text and you said...
I think somebody from the underworld has just contacted me. It was about 8:15, 8:30 Australian time, saying Buddle, had left Turkey. Now, I straight away had thought, well, he's found a way out.
To go to another country.
Not
coming back to Australia.
No. You contacted a few people.
Yep.
As I said, it was whispered in the underworld, but it was very, very hard to get information. And then about 6 hours later, phone goes, and it's confirmed from very, very reliable source in law enforcement that Mark Buddle is in the custody of the AFP and is on Australian soil.
Yeah.
And as I said, I didn't think that would happen that day.
Well, I think you called me and said,
Yep.
Someone just called me and said,
He's here.
He's here. And I said, what's he doing here?
Yeah, that's right.
And you said he's having a festival.
Yeah, I still didn't believe it.
No, but neither did I. It was almost, as you say, there was never a warrant. There was a lot of talk and a lot of rumour and innuendo and potential links if you spoke to police about things he may have been involved in. But there was never anything that we...
And there was no way that we thought they could legally bring him back.
No.
And in fact, they didn't bring him back. The Turks kicked him out.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the Turks hired a private jet.
Yes.
Put him on there with their own. Australian Federal Police were not on that plane.
No.
They flew him. They obviously had let our guys know.
Yeah, but only that he was coming back. That was the first they knew. Yeah.
Well, they had been they do have a person there in Turkey. So he's ended up lobbing back here. Straight away there's this quite amazing footage of Buddle by Federal Police being frog march backwards. It's really it's extraordinary. I've seen arrest footage before. There's people in handcuffs, even Sam Ibrahim in chains.
Yeah.
But this was, I've never seen someone frog march backwards. And then it emerged that recently a warrant had been signed in Melbourne. Isn't that right?
Yeah, and so we've spoken a lot in the last 12 months about the Anom app, which was a bit of a Trojan horse for the underworld. And so what happened was underworld figures were allegedly using this app thinking it was the safest thing in the world, that they could talk about
a device that it was like the cipher, a device they could send.
Yeah, mobile phone. They could talk about murders, drug imports, whatever they wanted, and police couldn't see it, and they were just free to go about their business. But the whole time, FBI, the AFP, and authorities around the world were watching on, and
capturing a lot of this,
capturing so much of it. And so the AFP alleges that Mark Buddle was involved in the importation of 160 kilograms of cocaine to Melbourne in the middle of last year, and that came from Hong Kong into Sydney and then down to Melbourne.
But what will happen now is, as I said, the chapter of Mark Buddle is not over, because that warrant for the alleged importation was signed while he was in detention in Turkey. Yeah. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I could imagine... Yeah, thanks. I could have been. if I tried and studied. So I think they will make quite a song and dance to the fact that why wasn't this warrant, if they had enough evidence, why did they wait 2 years to sign it? So I think he will be fighting that legally. There are actual legal challenges to the admissibility of some of the warrants on a nom. That's going on well before the arrest and charging of Mark Buddle. So I think what we'll be finding is there'll be so many court appearances, there'll be a lot of money spent on lawyers, and let's face it, I was told by somebody in the federal sphere, make no mistake, he still has a lot of money and he will be buying the best mouthpieces to fight every bit of the way.
That's for sure. And I guess now one of the big questions is, what impact does this have on the Comanchero, who we always talk about as being the biggest criminal organisation in Australia's underworld? And I think we're having this discussion before, just at our desks, and I said I'm not sure from people I've been speaking to about how much control he actually had over the day-to-day operations of the Comanchero. I know obviously he's the international commander,
and he was, but I think he did. He controlled them, and that's the way he saw it. He even the person that's now running it, Alan Meehan, he's the national president now. He's very, very close to Mark Buddle. Tariq Zahid, the national sergeant at arms, who victim of a shooting, again very close to Mark Buddle. Those people in senior positions are his allies. So I think the structure of the Comanchero is not going to change very much at all. Depending on how long and what happens with this, because at the moment he still has a lot of loyalty in that club, and I wouldn't be writing him off in any shape or form at the moment with his control over the club. As I said, it's just the story is not going to stop at all. So we'll be waiting to see what happens in the next. The next couple of months will be crucial legally, and then from there I think maybe we'll be talking to you again.
Yeah.
About the life and times of Mark Buddle.